Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hippie Moms podcast. I am so excited. Today we have Dr. Seth Gerlach with us again. What's up, Dr. Seth?
Hey, Becky. Oh, not much. I'm doing really good. It's summertime and I feel alive when the sun's out and I can keep moving. So I'm happy.
I hear you. You know, I'm a little spoiled. I'm in the Southwest and we have sunshine all the time. I don't see how you do it.
It's rough, man. I
Yeah.
definitely feel it. So yeah, it's January, February. I'm like, okay, where else could I live? Where? And I'm in Missouri. For those, if you're like, who is this guy? Where does he live? Yeah, I'm in the heart of the Midwest, and it's really hot and humid in the summer, and it's really cold and wet in the winter,
What?
and everything in between is crazy.
Well, you know, I really didn't want to share this with a lot of people, but you know, New Mexico is called the land of enchantment for a reason, and the
Mm,
weather is part of it. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty miraculous here.
good to know.
But, you know, we don't get that much snow. Do you get a lot of snow?
No, not a lot.
Oh, so yeah, it sounds miserable.
I know. It's like it'll be super cold, and it's like, oh, I can't even go like skiing or sledding. It's just like 8 degrees.
Oh my
It's just
goodness. Oh my goodness.
it's all
Well,
good.
the good thing is we know is that you're changing lives in Missouri.
Oh,
And I actually reached out to Dr. Seth because he sent out this email that said how to stop feeding the bad gut bugs in your belly. And that really got my attention, you guys, because we don't want bad gut bugs in our bellies. But you really went and then you started to talk about kind of these types of sugars. So here's what I want to do. I want to kind of give a refresher because everyone knows somewhat something about gut health. But I'm hoping you could kind of walk us through the basics and weave in, you know, why some of the most important things we can do, these simple things are important, you know, to really help not only reestablish our gut, but also to start to work on that part of us so that because it impacts everything, doesn't it, Dr. Seth?
yeah, the gut's kind of the center of your body,
Mhm.
and your health really revolves around the health of your gut. And this was me personally. I was really sick as a teenager, and then moving into my 20s, I was on 5 medications, in and out of the ER. Severely anxious, depressed, vertigo, migraines, pain, GI issues, and some of it was mold toxicity, some of it was mercury, some of it was parasites and candida. A lot going on, a lot, and some of it was mindset and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But for the people that I see every day, if we can't get their gut health right, they're not going to feel better. Their body's not going to work as it should. So it's
Mhm.
very important that we look at, and I think it's more important than ever because our gut is under assault like no other time in history because of things like antibiotics,
Mhm.
genetically modified foods, and high fructose corn syrup, and sugars, and alcohol, and stress,
Mhm.
and EMFs, and all kinds of stuff. So we're being bombarded. Your body is being bombarded every single day with exponentially more toxins and stuff than your grandparents and great grandparents. So
Mhm.
I talk about mold a lot because it was near and dear to my heart as one of the reasons why I was sick. Mold is much more virulent, much more toxic in the presence of EMFs. So I don't know about
Really?
you, but pretty much every place on the planet has EMFs unless you go in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, Dr. Klinghardt, he's really big in this field. He did a study with mold growing, and he put some by Wi-Fi and some without Wi-Fi, and the one by Wi-Fi is like 600% more virulent. Um, so it accelerates these toxins. It's pretty wild. So then mold many times colonizes in your gut, and then now you have a yeast fungal issue, and it's a whole big thing.
Oh,
But back to your point, yeah, so many things stem from gut health. So your metabolism, your metabolic rate, your skin health. Your skin is a reflection of your gut. Your brain health, your majority of your serotonin, your dopamine is made in your gut. So if
mm.
you have a gut on fire, you have a brain on fire. And I see this so many times in kiddos. And this was me
Really?
also.
What?
Kids a lot. And we can do tests like organic acid testing to see just how inflamed their brain is, how it's affecting their serotonin, their dopamine, their norepinephrine. And then you can see on the same test, is it a Clostridia overgrowth, a yeast, a fungal, a bacterial overgrowth? And many times you can correlate those together. It's pretty wild. But for kids, it's usually what they're eating. I mean, look at what most kids eat today. It's just
Yeah.
complete toxic crap.
Ugh.
And the first 3 years of life is the most critical for your microbiome. So the 9 months you're in utero, and then as you're born, if you come down vaginally, you inherit you're bathed in your mom's great microbiome, the bacteria. And then if you're breastfed, you get even more. And then if you abstain from antibiotics, you're set up pretty nicely. But for the majority of people, I can't remember, I think a third of babies or so are about C-section. I think that's climbing.
Yeah.
And so you're not getting the beneficial bacteria. And then if you're formula fed, you're not getting it. And then if you have antibiotics, you shift your entire microbiome. Because after about 2 or 3 years, the microbiome is decently set for most kiddos. So it's very, very important.
I wish I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why we try to abstain from antibiotics as much as humanly possible.
Absolutely.
Because many studies show it can alter the microbiome for 6, 12 months. Some people say years. Some people say forever.
I know.
So, yeah.
So, well, and we have to remind our moms what's done is done. Feeling
Sure.
guilty or shame about it isn't going to do anything. All we can do is move forward, because
Right.
I'm in my boat. I had a C-section. My son was breech, and then when I was pregnant with my second, I didn't know they could need antibiotics.
Mhm.
I was having the VBAC, and I was trying to do all the right things.
Yeah.
And it was just like, had my doula, and it was horrible. It was both actually experiences were very traumatic birthing experience. But and I share that because I know how it feels. I kind of feel like I messed up my kids for life, but we don't. There is an opportunity to get things back on track, right, Dr. Seth? Give us a little hope here.
Exactly. And you do the best you can with what you have.
Yes.
So there's no use in going back and beating yourself up, for sure. You take that information and do the best you can. You can inform others too, Yeah, going forward, there's an opportunity every single day to improve your health, to improve your kids' health. And so that includes many times, a large majority of it is what you feed them, because food is not just fuel for your body. Many times you'll think it's just calories. You take those calories, you make energy, and then you poop out the rest. And we're not machines like that.
Right.
Food is actually, we've been shown in studies that food is information for your genes. So it can actually literally turn on or off DNA. So if you're eating, highly inflammatory, seed oil laden, genetically modified diet, that's going to flip on all these genes that can contribute to chronic disease. So we know, big picture, only about 10, 15% of your health is directly indicated to your genetic makeup. The rest is attributed to your environment. And your environment is the foods you eat, the amount of stress you're under, how much you move, how much you sleep, your gratitude, your toxin load. These are all things that have a vast impact on your health. It's all under your control, which is pretty amazing.
It is amazing, Dr. Seth. And there's a lot that's not under our control when it's outside of our home.
Sure. Outside of your home, it's like the Wild West out there.
It's the Wild West out there. I mean, as much as I've tried to keep my kids in their little bubble, I was sharing, my kids are 9 and 11 now. They don't want to be in their bubble, and they go out in the world. And so, but to your point, what we have at our home is like our sacred space.
Right.
That we can just do our best in, right? Because we can't control the outside world. I mean, it's impossible. I've tried to stress about it to control it, and it doesn't work. So don't do that anymore.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is helping make your kids more resilient. You can't protect them from everything in the world all the time.
Right.
You can build them up and make them more resilient for when the storms come. They are better equipped to handle that. And that's, I think, what it's all about. But yeah, at home, if you can decrease your toxin load, the amount of stuff you maybe you have candles, right? Or those little plug-in things in the walls, right? Those are instant throw out material. Maybe you have, toxic stuff you're using as shampoos or lotions or toothpaste or things like that. Easy swap.
Totally.
And then what's in the pantry, right? We want foods that are nutrient dense, and
Mhm.
anti-inflammatory. That's really what it comes down to. If you look at what our ancestors ate hundreds of years ago, you know, meats, veggies, fruits, nuts, and seeds. It's the biggest staple. I mean, breads, but it was different, right? The gluten wasn't sprayed with glyphosate and amplified and hybridized and all kinds of stuff like that. Everything's different today. So foods, and then EMFs are a big
Mhm.
one, actually. I've seen for like kids too, behavior wise, sleep wise, all kinds of stuff. If their kids are sleeping next to a Wi-Fi router, or if they have
Mhm.
devices in their room, like baby monitors emit an enormous amount of EMF. And I tested this in my own. I had a
Mhm.
meter in my home, and I walked around, and I was like setting by my laptop, my phone, TVs. The kids' um, camera, right, was one of
Oh,
the biggest emitters of this radio. It was
what?
shocking to me. Yes. Yep.
Insane. How does
Wild.
that happen?
It's all, the frequencies in between.
Yeah.
And when you amplify all these things, it's a lot, you know?
It's a lot for the body to handle because it's
Mhm.
never, I mean, it's not designed to handle all
Right.
of these things. And that's why we're seeing such a breakdown.
Yep. And
Right?
one thing that one of the biggest pet peeves, so sorry to interrupt you.
No, please.
When I see, kids like on tablets or even their phones, and they're holding it, it's not on airplane mode, and they're holding it right by you know, their junk, their
I,
genitals.
yes.
And for kiddos, those organs are very, very sensitive, and they're a very sensitive stage of development. It's an absolute no-no, that you never want to have a device, one near a kid, but even close to their private parts is
I see
absolutely
that
wrong.
all the time. I mean, I've even seen my kids, they're working on their laptops and they're putting it on their lap. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right. So I think if kids are gonna have stuff on airplane mode, you can get like EMF blankets to put over them,
Oh,
or like laptop shields, you put on top of them. Those
yeah.
are easy, simple things to really reduce their EMF exposure.
Yes, yes. And I always say this anytime we talk about EMFs, how important it is to turn the Wi-Fi off at night.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you
Because
guys
if you
do
can
that?
get that
Do
off,
you have it on a
yeah,
timer?
yeah, you can put a simple timer on it, a
Yeah,
couple buck timer,
yeah.
and it's done. You don't have to think about it.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah, I'm really a stickler about that. Even when I go places, I'm like, will you turn off your Wi-Fi?
No, yeah, it's crazy. Like when you go, so I travel, and we get like Airbnbs, and like they've got all the scents out, and like Alexa plugged in and all this stuff, and I'm just like, we're gonna unplug everything right away, open all the windows.
Oh my gosh, I go and collect all the air fresheners and put them in a plastic bag and then like
Yeah,
tie it up and put it outside.
yeah,
It's horrible.
yeah. And for me, I'm very sensitive, and I've been like that. So certain people are more sensitive than others.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like the canary in the coal mine. So I could walk into a room and smell, something like that in a drawer, and be like,
Yes.
okay, I got to get that out of here right away.
I fall into that category with you, Dr. Seth. It's very hard because people think I'm insane.
Yep. And so some of those people are they can be poor, or slower metabolizers. Their liver, or certain liver and methylation pathways don't work the same, or certain genetic typing like HLA in particular can lead you more prone to accumulate mold, and that's about 25% of the population.
Oh,
So when we
wow.
talk about mold and EMFs, there's also another genetic component where some people just can't get rid of it out of the body. It builds up and causes issues. The immune system like responds to it, and it's a whole cascade from there.
So, and that kind of led into, because you had a really good blog post about drainage. Would this lead into that and like what that is? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So for those of you who are overwhelmed already, it's okay. Take a breath.
Yeah.
Um, d- don't freak out, because there's always things you can do, and drainage is one of those things. So drainage just means, are all the exit routes out of your body open? Simple as that. So everyone's heard of detox before, right? And doing a detox, and usually we think of like a 5-day juice detox where you're like on the toilet 18 times a day and you feel like crap, and it's like, this is weird. Detox is the act of pushing stuff out of your cells into lymph or circulation to get rid of it, hopefully.
Mhm. Mhm.
Drainage is a step before that. So I would say drainage before detox always, because if you try to push a bunch of toxins and move and mobilize that stuff, but you're not pooping every day or multiple times a day, and your
Mhm.
liver is backed up, and you're not sweating, and your lymphatic system's a mess, you just kind of just stirred everything up. Like you took a water bottle full of, toxins and you just shook it up. It didn't go anywhere, you know?
Mhm.
So with drainage, we look at, can you poop multiple times a day? It's normal to poop multiple times a day. If you look
Right.
at babies, it's normal for them to poop, after every time they eat, usually.
Got it.
Eat, poop. And then we should be doing the same thing. And if you're not, you're toxic, plain and simple. Then we look at, can your liver and your bile duct process all the stuff that's coming in? Your liver is the biggest like processing plant in the body. It's the biggest
Mhm.
detoxification. It's not biggest. It's the most commonly well-known detoxification organ because it does so many different things. And it processes hormones too, for moms listening. Many times estrogen or these other issues is actually a liver issue, not processing estrogens throughout the body. But we
Wow.
always look to see, are all the pathways in the liver moving and working?
Mhm.
And many times it's an issue like people can have a sluggish gallbladder, right?
Yeah.
And so your toxins, when a toxin comes into liver, it'll go through phase 1, phase 2 liver detox, and it sits in the bile. And the bile is usually stored in the gallbladder. Sorry
Mhm.
if we're just going sciencey for just a second here. And when you eat a meal, that bile is supposed to spit out of your gallbladder, and it helps you emulsify your fat, absorb your food. But that's where a lot of those toxins are also.
Mm.
The problem is a large majority of that bile, 80, 90% of it, you recycle and use it again to digest the next meal.
Oh.
So people get in the cycle of high toxin load. They're not processing their bile. They're not eliminating that out of their body. So they just recycle the same stuff all day, every day. So
Yeah,
we help them get out of that cycle, thin the bile, escort it out of the body where all the toxins are. Pretty cool.
Mm.
And of course, things like kidneys, sweating. If you're not sweating multiple times a week, you're toxic also.
Mhm.
That's an absolute fact. And your lymphatic system is very important too. Your lymphatic system is kind of like the liquid trash can of the body.
Mm.
And it moves and mobilizes all of the junk, the bugs, all the debris, to help get that out of the body too. So many times that can be sluggish from all the stuff you're exposed to, from sitting too much, from stress, from all kinds of things like that. So those are the things we look at. Is everything moving and flowing like a river? So if you have, get this image in your mind, you walk up to a creek, right?
Mhm.
And on one end, it's like dammed up. The beavers came and dammed everything up, and it's not the water's not really moving there, and it's kind of murky and muddy, and there's like bugs, and it's just it's stagnant and foamy and all kinds of gunk, right? And you look past it where it's flowing, and it's like, wow, it's clear, it's flowing, it's fast, that looks amazing. Same analogy for our bodies. If you're not
Mm.
actively moving and mobilizing stuff every single day, you're pretty much just a muddy, murky, icky creek backing up, or pond, right? That's you're sitting in your own junk.
We don't want that, moms.
No.
We want
And
to be that flowing river, Dr. Seth. So lead us to the flowing river.
exactly. And a lot of the symptoms, a lot of people have like brain fog,
Mm.
like they can't lose weight, like their gut's just like a little bit off. They feel kind of puffy. Their energy is just not what it used to be. Many times it's they can't drain and get rid of stuff, like, and
Mm.
that's it. So I usually start there with most people because, like, if we're gonna do anything gut, if we're gonna do anything detox related, anything hormone related, it's all gonna be amplified and better if you make sure the exit routes are open first and everything can
I
flow.
love that. Okay, Dr. Seth, we kind of talked a little before. Would you provide us some like simple things to help us get things flowing? Like what, even if it's the basics, some of us we just need to be reminded. As we said before, most of us know what we
Yeah.
need, what serves our body, right? Healthy food, like the food you talked about, movement, nature, gratitude, all these things, sweating. But so we know that. So what is using that information? Like, how do we move forward? It's like, okay, moms, we're ready. We're going to move the skunk. What's the first step?
I usually start from the bottom, work our way up. And that
Okay.
means starting with poop. I love
Mm.
talking about poop.
Okay, let's talk
Um,
about food.
Because if you're not, you can go through all those steps, like I mentioned. Your lymphatic system can move the stuff around. Your kidneys are filtering it. Your your liver is processing it. It's going through everything, and then it goes into your gut, and then it just sits there. You did all that work to just sit in your own gunk again, right? So usually start with the bowels. And that's probably the most important piece
Yeah.
because, like I said, everything flows down, and majority of toxins leave through your bowels.
Mm.
So we start there. So simple stuff. Are you drinking enough water? Clean water, right? That's a big one. And then we say, are you moving? Because if you're sedentary all day, your gut's not really going to move either. So that's a big one. And then eating like hydrating foods. That's important, right?
Okay.
Dehydrating foods would be like, processed carbs, and dairy can do that. And gluten, of course, is a big one. Sugar. These are usually harmful for most people to some degree.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at for fiber. Some people do great with fiber. Some
Okay.
people, they need to wait on fiber until they clear out some yeast or fungal growth.
Okay.
Those are some basic things. And if you're still not going, then I'm looking at, okay, maybe a little magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate. Very easy for most people to take some of that. See if that helps. Some vitamin C powder helps sometimes with people too. And then we're looking into other things like the bigger guns. If we need to, aloe, senna, cascara sagrada, even a mixture of all these things sometimes really helps people for the short term get things moving while we fix the issue, the underlying issue. Why is your gut not moving?
Yes.
Those are simple things for gut, for liver, there's many, many, many different things. And all this is outlined in my drainage formula course, how to do each step,
Okay.
step by step. Very, very
I'll
simple.
make sure we have a link for that so people can go
Okay,
right.
great.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's super easy. It's easy, quick videos. There's handouts, how-tos, how to sauna, how to do a coffee enema, how to help your gut, your liver, your kidneys, all these things. It's really, really basic and simple, great for almost everybody.
Awesome.
The liver needs like amino acids. So the breakdowns of protein. So
Mm.
I love protein. I love amino acids. It helps move and mobilize stuff. Glutathione can be beneficial for a lot of people. It's a great antioxidant, helps the liver, helps your brain. TUDCA is like bile. It helps thin the bile and move the bile. Remember we talked about most people recycle the bile, which means recycle toxins. We don't want to do that. I love TUDCA because it helps move and mobilize that stuff.
How do you spell that?
TUDCA, it's TUDCA.
Podcast.
And it's a bile acid. Yeah, it's a bile acid. Pretty cool. And of course, things like milk thistle and acetylcysteine can all be really good too. But you don't want to go and like throw all the stuff all at once. There's usually like an order in which to do things, ease in nice and slowly, one by one, see how your body tolerates these things. So that's a preface there. And always check with your doctor. There's my legal plug before you do anything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then yeah, as far as there's some good herbs and things for lymphatic system, but your lymphatic system only moves if you move. So your cardiovascular system has the heart to assist and move all the blood around. Your lymphatic system is just as big as the cardiovascular system. It goes everywhere, all over your body. It only moves if you move. So that's one big key. And I love doing like head and neck drainage, lymphatic drainage, because the majority of the lymphatic vessels are in your head and neck, believe it or not. So if people have like brain fog, memory issues, mood swings, just your brain is off, it's many times your lymphatic system isn't draining your brain. So you can also look to, if that's the case for you, you can elevate the head of your bed at night, like 4 inches, and use gravity when you're sleeping to help your lymphatic system drain that stuff out. Really wild.
Wow. I love how that's so simple.
Right. And sweating, making sure you sweat multiple times a week. So if that's working out, if it's getting a sauna, I love saunas. I love infrared saunas.
You just speak to saunas really quickly because I know you also have one that's pretty simple because they can be expensive.
Right. So there's different kinds of saunas. There's the typical just dry heat sauna, which are great and they have great benefits. Infrared sauna goes a little, the infrared rays goes a little bit deeper into the body, so you can affect organs deeper in the body. You can detoxify a little bit more, helps with circulation, helps with stem cells. It helps your brain, helps the lymphatic system move the stuff around. It activates heat shock proteins, which helps like degrade all the bad stuff you don't want. There's so many cool benefits from infrared sauna. A lot of people can lose weight sometimes too, because you're helping to, again, you're sweating, you're moving stuff out. It can be great for detoxifying mold and plastics and certain metals. Some toxins are preferentially exported out of the body via sweat. So if you're not sweating, you can't get rid of those toxins. It's pretty crazy. And there's different levels of infrared saunas too. You know, there's the big like wood ones that you sit in, and I think those can be great if you get a low EMF one. I personally have one. You zip it up, your head sticks out of it. It's a little like a personal one, but it can get up to like 170 degrees. It's very low EMF. It's amazing. It has like
also infrared.
It's also infrared, and it's got red light therapy in it. So it's like the ultimate biohacking tool. I love this thing. It's super cool.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I need to check that out because I love how simple that is, and to keep my head out because I don't want to get my hair all sweaty.
Yeah. So I think there's some research saying you don't want to heat your brainstem for long periods of time.
Oh, good.
So I think that was the theory behind that too. But I love it. I've got a how-to sauna guide. If you ever want it, I can help you share that too. And it kind of walks people through why to do it and how to do it also.
Okay. Yeah, you're so full of resources, Dr. Seth. It's amazing.
Well, yeah. And there's so many cool studies on sauna. There was a couple studies that show, I think just with the dry sauna, if the people that sauna like 3 to 4 times a week, they had a decrease in risk for like Alzheimer's. I think it was like 70 something %, and their all-cause mortality went down 40 something %.
What?
Just from doing a sauna, you know, a few days a week.
That's crazy.
40 something %. It's mind blowing, right? If there was a drug that said, we're going to decrease your mortality risk by 40%, you would make trillions and trillions.
I know. Right? Gosh, how great would that be if my insurance could pay for one?
I know. That's what we need. And the whole system is just, it's totally focused on drugs and surgeries and radiation and
sickness.
All the stuff, you know.
It just creates sickness.
It does. And I think that started, sorry, I'm going rants here.
Yeah, let's do it right now.
I think that started with Rockefeller in the early 1900s. And in the late 1800s in America in particular, a lot of people didn't trust conventional medicine because they were bloodletting and using all kinds of weird stuff and killing people, and not much has changed, right? But a lot of people are using homeopathy and native techniques and things like that. I mean, Chinese medicine has been around for thousands of years. Ayurveda has been around for thousands of years. You know, the Native Americans have used their own medicine for thousands of years. And so to put that in perspective, right? Modern medicine's been here 100 years or so, a little bit more than that, pretty wild. So in that time, Rockefeller was like, hey, you know, I'm making all this money from oil, and I've got these byproducts with petroleum, and we can make, you know, look like these medications and things like that. How can we make money off this? And he's like, well, crap, people aren't trusting conventional medicine. What are we going to do? Well, we need to make the other side look really, really bad. So he teamed up with the AMA and had this guy Flexner go around America and came up with this Flexner report, pretty much demonizing all chiropractic, homeopathy, all the natural therapies that had been around that actually work, had been around for thousands of years. And what they actually did, they threw people in jail who opposed them, who practiced natural medicine. They threw chiropractors, homeopaths in jail. And what they did, they consolidated the schools. They got rid of the natural schools. They consolidated the rest and said, hey, we're going to give you funding, but only if you teach our curriculum, the Rockefeller curriculum, which guess what excluded? All things natural, all herbs, all homeopathics, all chiropractic, everything that reference spirituality and all these things that connect us to the divine. So all that was taken out. And since then, it's just picked up speed. And, you know, this deep tie with AMA, Rockefeller, conventional medicine, all together. There's so much money poured in here, and not much has changed today. In the medical schools, they don't teach about nutrition. They don't teach about power of sunlight and sweating and your gut and toxin load and all those things. Because why would they? Because they can just give people a pill and they can just silence whoever they want to on the other side. And it's just not a thing. So with that came along, you know, insurance companies were only going to pay for pills and all this stuff too. So that's where we have a great opportunity now to break free from this entire system. Because I think trust is at an all-time low with conventional medicine right now. People are looking for ways out of this. They're sick of being sick and tired, and they go to their
Mhm.
doctor and say, I feel like crap. And they look at them in the face and say, well, you're just getting old. It's probably your hormones, just take all
Mhm.
these medications and be a good little mom and go home,
Yeah.
and
Do
just
your
do
job.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, man, is the system broken. And it is really interesting because I do see this divide, my parents, their age, they're so indoctrinated into this system,
Mhm.
and then you have moms like us that see the world around us. And I just knew from the get-go, I'm like, I'm not gonna be like one of my family members on 7 medications, with diabetes. And I just knew there had to be another way. And I think there's a lot changing. Do you feel that things are changing, Dr. Seth? Is there hope for us?
I think absolutely. I think it's a great time to be alive, even though
Yeah.
you look around and it can be pretty dark, but I also, we have the ability to focus on the things that we want to focus on too,
Yeah.
So I think that was a big thing for me going through pandemic and being censored and deleted and ostracized and death
Yeah.
threats and all this stuff. It's like I could get down and go down that path of fear and anger and all that stuff, or I could say, you know what, I'm going to go over here and we're going to focus on, you know, divine connection and good food and health and
Mhm.
all the good things.
All
And
the-
that's what we can every single day. We have the ability to choose how we respond, how we interpret things, what we can focus on. And that's just been the one of the biggest things for me. It's been amazing. But
I-
I think even the past, for my colleagues, the past 3 years has just been insane. The amount of people wanting something different.
Yes, I know. And as horrible as COVID was for so many, that I really do believe the silver lining was this awakening. And I feel like there's two worlds emerging, one that's going to continue on the fear and the path of, the illusion and the sickness. And then there's this other path that's coming up where I believe a lot of us mothers stand and you stand, where we're like, that's not working, we're going to choose a new path and flow away from the masses, and create our own world. I mean, that's what I feel like. I don't tune into the news. I don't tune into any of that anymore. It's irrelevant to me. What's relevant
Yeah.
is right here, right now, and what perspective am I taking? And the beautiful thing that we talked about is there's things we can do every day to help ourselves along this path. Like you said, Dr. Seth, even if it's simply, going and downloading your course about drainage, right? Or just or waking up and drinking water. Like it's these little things that we can do consistently. Um, is there anything else that you want to add before we talk about your new podcast?
Oh man, how much time you got? No, I'm just kidding. No, I think that's a good point. And I think we have an incredible opportunity to shape the next generation.
Yeah.
And to all you moms listening, I think that's the most important job in the world because you have the next generation right in front of you. So being the model for them every single day is very important. So yeah, not being in that fear or anger and showing them, life goes on and we can choose what we can focus on, and we can go play outside and get muddy and dirty, and we can, have fun wherever we are, and
Mm.
all the things, we can have connection. And I think
Dance parties.
that's wanted to expound on that.
And dance parties. I just wanted to add in
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
I need a lot of dance parties in my life. I find them to be the best thing in the world. Okay, and so awesome. Thank you, Dr. Seth. All of it is just, it's so good. Because I think a lot of times we feel overwhelmed, and I think we can kind of get into the spin of the illusion. So if we can just like come back and just look at the basics and start there, start from the basics, what you need, what is required. You just have to like take those steps. Okay, so tell us about your new podcast, because we're talking to podcast listeners. So I want to make sure that they know about your new podcast.
Yeah. So I started a podcast. It's called the Uncensored Truth Podcast. And I started this because I was sick of being shadow banned and deleted and censored on social media. And I'm like, there's so much stuff that people need to know that's been suppressed and censored for so many years. And I'm going to start my own podcast and bring on the coolest people in the industry. And Becky, we're going to have you on
Love
to
to.
talk about all the things that we can't talk about online anymore. So, I mean, we've had people to talk about subconscious mind, the fiat monetary system and the upcoming collapse there. We had people talk about kids' health, a mom that reversed her kid's autism. We've had multiple chiropractors on to talk about their take on things. I just had someone on. We talked about like electromagnetic, all things EMFs and
Mm.
how it affects our health and 5G, and the list really just goes on and on. So it's a bunch of really cool topics that I want people to know about and hear about. But we also offer solutions every single podcast. We want to bring solutions to people like, hey, this is what's going on, but this is what you can do about it. So we want to try to bring that to people too.
I love that. That sounds totally up our alley, Dr. Seth. So I'll make sure I have the link to your podcast too, so people can
Awesome.
go on and start listening.
Sweet.
Hey, I appreciate you, Dr. Seth. I see you out there. I read your emails. I see you on Instagram. You really are a force, of light, and you're bringing it to the world, and I see it and we see it. And it's such an honor to have you on the podcast. And I think we just make this kind of a regular thing, because you always help us kind of see through the muck, and clear the dams away so we can
Sure.
see the clean flowing river that we're here to be, right?
Yes. Well, thank you for the kind words. It's always fun to come on and jam with you and everyone listening. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right. Well, we'll see you soon, Dr. Seth, and we'll catch you all on the next Hippie Moms podcast. And make sure to check out the show notes for all the info we talked about today. All right. See you later.
All right.